Hello everybody, it's me GhostCritic with yet another comic book review video. Thank you for joining me. Don't forget, if you're not subscribed to my channel yet and you like what you see, hit that red button and the bell to notify you when videos come up. Give this video a big thumbs up and don't forget to comment down below. Now this week I only have 5 books on my pull list, so it makes my job of kind of putting them in order, getting a pick of the week, kind of that much harder because I obviously haven't got that many books to choose from. It's kind of like the pros and cons of having either a large pull list on one week or a small one. You kind of get overwhelmed when there's like 10 or 11 books on your pull list to read in a few days to put one of these videos up. Or you don't get much choice when it's a small week like this week. So I thought this week we'd talk, which I don't generally, I mean I do talk about it, but not as great a deal as I do the storylines. But we're going to talk about the art a lot in these 5 books. We're going to kick off this week with, and as always, spoilers. I am going to be talking about the stories in here. So if you haven't read any of these, please stop the video, go and read it, come back, or just skip it until you have. Punisher, issue 223. This wraps up the whole War Machine storyline, and in one kind of side of an argument there is the fact that yes, it's incredibly over the top. You're giving the Punisher the kind of War Machine, Iron Man suit, and he can do just like the most craziest over the top stuff to get to his kind of villain that he's got to put down, which is this dictator, a despot type of guy. And it does feel just like that. It's kind of over the top, incredibly bloody and violence. And as fun as that is, there comes to a point where it's like, this is just getting ridiculous. And there is a kind of element of that in here, as this dictator has sent off a nuclear weapon, and Punisher has to go and stop it from blowing up, or, you know, getting into a heavily populated area and killing hundreds of thousands of people. So yes, his armour starts failing and you think, this isn't really going to happen. I mean, okay, comic books, anything can happen, but it is just kind of incredibly over the top. But on the other side, what Rosenberg does, the writer in this, is show Frank Castle's resourcefulness. It doesn't matter whether he does have this incredibly powerful suit of basically armour, or if he doesn't have it, he still finds a way, kind of MacGyver style almost, to put down his enemies. And this all kind of gets wrapped up in kind of, as usual, over the top fashion and bloody smackdowns of all the people that have been after him. But it's what's next that kind of interests me, because he is still in possession of the War Machine armour, and he's back in I guess is it New York, and so it's like, how is he going to use this armour, this ridiculously over the top technology, to put down his kind of enemies, the criminal aspect of the city he resides in. Now the colourist in here, Lee Lowridge, is great. It's not bright, it's not, you know, that kind of Technicolor comic book style, because it doesn't really suit Punisher. It doesn't really suit this storyline. But what he does is kind of choose the kind of, it's almost kind of like a muted pastel style, a kind of the dark shades of the pastels, and gives the kind of like the darkness that the Punisher kind of deserves. It's all very gritty, it's all very grim, and obviously it's all very bloody. And there's just some great kind of paneling going on, the making sure, you know, the movement of this book goes really well, which it does, which is kind of partly obviously Lowridge's colouring, but the artist Villanova does a great job on this book. I believe, have we got a new artist? I cannot remember on this. I think I'm thinking of another book, but like I said, I'm interested to see how this book now progresses. Now we've had the big kind of war in another country, taking down this big despot. Are we going to kind of shrink it back down now to on the streets of New York City or wherever he is? I love the Punisher. Kind of glad this storyline is ended now. I did think it was stretched out a little bit too much, maybe probably by about an issue, but you know, makes a great trade. Let's move on to another Marvel comic, issue number 10 of the 12-issue maxi series by Charles Soule, Astonishing X-Men. And this issue kind of raises the age-old debate of, can good artwork cover for a poor storyline, or can a great storyline cover for poor artwork? In this particular instance, it's a good job that Charles Soule, sorry, has Aiko and Rochelle Rosenberg doing the art, because this is very much, again, it's another kind of filler issue to make up this kind of 12-issue maxi series, because you basically get a kind of, again, it's another let's over-explain what we had in the last issue at the end of it, where, yes, okay, Proteus, he's taken this little kind of village somewhere in the UK or Scotland, I can't remember where, and he has enclosed it in a big wall, and he has allowed the inhabitants of that to have whatever they want. They just have to think about it. And so you have the X-Men, this X-Men team flying over there, and all kinds of craziness is there. But that's all it is. It's just kind of explaining at an issue long length what we kind of already know, and it doesn't really push anything until, I guess, the cliffhanger at the very end, which is not even that much of a surprise, because you can understand that Proteus is kind of using this small village as a kind of petri dish, experimenting on what can happen on a small scale, and what's going to happen, he wants to throw this out into the world. Now, the artwork in here clearly saves this book. With every issue you've had a different artist and art team, and it's just a good job that Charles Soule had Aiko, as I said, and Rochelle Rosenberg doing the art on here. It's like every page, it's like there's these big double spreads with some great layouts, and it's just so, I mean, that just fantastic. Great stuff to look at, even when it starts to get perhaps a mite bit confusing. I mean, Aiko loves doing these kind of smaller boxes that surround a big kind of action scene, but it's just there for the reader's enjoyment to gaze upon the page. It doesn't turn into that really quick read that some comics, you know, happen from time to time. You kind of like devouring this colourful, chaotic page, trying to make sure you don't miss anything. It's just gorgeous, and it continues with kind of like page after page, and it's vibrant, it's bright, it's colourful, and as I said, the layouts are just make it that much more interesting to read. So fortunately for Charles Soule in this issue, it elevates the book from just being kind of, oh, we're going to go over this again, are we? So we can lead up to the kind of penultimate and finale issue. So, as I said, lucky for Charles Soule that he had a great artist, penciler and colourist on this book. I Hate Fairyland, issue number 18 from Scotty Young. And this is one of those titles that you can't get away from the colouring. Here we have Jean-Francois Bleu, I think his name is, pardon the pronunciation, but it is just cartoon realness, bright, in your face, kind of Technicolor glory, and it's just fantastic. I love this title. I can't believe that there was a point, I think it was when it first kind of had its first hiatus, I guess you'd call it, because I just thought, oh well, that's it for the title. We're not going to get any more, because honestly, I didn't hear many people talking about this book. They're missing out, because it is a hilarious kind of fantasy jaunt at the hands of Scotty Young, just doing this over-the-top cartoon realness. Now, at the end of last issue, we had this hooded figure that had kind of, I guess, risen from the dead, and was kind of basically eating up Fairyland wherever this person trod. You know, everything died around them, and it is revealed again in just like beautiful art and colours here. It is Claudia. Now, she did die not so long ago. She was kind of like the queen of Fairyland, but now she's come back as Dark Claudia, and she ain't happy. And it does appear that the only person that is going to be able to save Fairyland is the one person that really doesn't want to be there and is in hell. Literally in hell. And so it's up to is it Larry? I think it's Larry, this kid who's been dragged into Fairyland as well, and is just running around in this kind of dinosaur costume, living a quite fun life really, but it's up to him, along with Gertie's kind of guide, the little kind of Jiminy Cricket-esque character, but kind of like the dark version, cigar smoking, you know, whiskey drinking, depressive guide. So Larry at first has to kind of persuade our little guide to help bring back Gertie from hell. So they have to go up against this council, and again, it's just like that kind of ridiculous, over the top kind of characters that make up the council, and have to persuade them to give, I don't know, the kind of power for them to go and retrieve her. It's just fun, exciting, it's stupid, but in a great way. It is literally comics. Anything can happen. You don't make sense of this. Don't try and find some logic path to it, because it doesn't exist, shouldn't exist in a title like this, and it's fantastic for it. Penultimate book of the week, just missing out on pick of the week, is Chip Zdarsky's Marvel's 2-in-1, The Thing and the Human Torch, and we kind of get the Fantastic Four back. Okay, two of them may be from a different multiversal version of the Marvel Universe, but we got an Invisible Woman, we got Mr. Fantastic, and we've got the Thing, and we've got the Torch, and they're fighting back. Yes, this is a world where their version of the Human Torch and the Thing are no more. Basically, Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, has had a complete breakdown because he was unable to save the world, and the person who did was obviously his ultimate nemesis, enemy, Doom, and Sue has left to go and kind of be part of this universe's shield. But come together they must to fight back the oncoming onslaught of Doom, as I guess this kind of Galactus type character who's going to devour the Earth. Of course, our Doom from our regular universe is kind of grabbed on board this time travelling, dimension hopping platform, and he kind of suddenly appears to help out. And it's just really, really great fun comic book. almost nostalgic kind of vibe to it. It's fun, but it has that element of emotion to it, as well as, you know, the Thing really kind of lays into Reed Richards in this issue, and just says, look, it didn't matter what the odds have been in the past. You know, my Reed never gave up. He always had an answer. It didn't matter what depths he got to, he would bring himself back from that brink, and you've got to as well. Just fantastic stuff. Colouring in this one was by Frank Martin, and artwork by Valerio Shitai. Sorry, another great mispronunciation, but again, full of action, full of fun, some great, you know, colouring. It's kind of on the muted side. It's not as bright and colourful. There's kind of like an almost, I want to say, flatness to it, but that doesn't really detract from the kind of action that's going on. It's great because we get the old Thing's catchphrase, it's clobbering time, which is always great to see. You know, it's just like Avengers Assemble. It's one of those call to arms. But yes, it seems that we're going to have to bring in Norrin Radd into the equation, or at least this version's, who has I don't know whether it seems he's living with Emma, the White Queen. I can't remember her last name now. But of the X-Men, sometimes villain, sometimes part of the whole X team. It's very confusing in the X universe at the moment. But she seems to have shacked up with Norrin Radd out in the kind of farmland fields, trying to live a quiet life. But they need him. They need him because Doom is here, and you can see the shadow of him in the background. Next issue, it's the Doom universe. But just, again, fun, entertaining, exciting, vibrant, colourful, just a great all-rounder type of comic that you don't really need to know that much about, because obviously it is in all these kind of different pocket universes or multiverses, however you want to call it. So you could just go along with the ride, and it's just damn fun. Okay, it's pick of the week, and if you've already seen my Wednesday's new comic book day video, you might have worked out what this is. It's the penultimate issue in the Vertigo series of Kurt Busiek's Astro City, issue number 51. And this is a kind of interesting last story arc, because it is kind of subdued, but it's at its core, at its root. This is what Astro City has always been about. It's been about the people in Astro City. It's not been so much about the superheroes, though they have had their share of the limelight in all the kind of reiterations of Astro City. But it's how the superhero lives affect, you know, us norms, the people who just kind of trying to get through day to day while aliens invade, or villains try, you know, their latest big heist or scheme. And in this kind of, I guess it's a three-parter because it started last issue, we have this kind of help group of people who have been affected by, you know, the superheroes doing their job. It's kind of like an AA meeting, but for the survivors of these big, large events that keep happening in their town. And we kick off with this woman called Rose, who gets caught by, we see it on the front, I think it's called Lord Arachnos, that's it. He's basically just a big spider who captures all these humans to basically feed off. There's an element that he could be an alien from another planet, but the story is about a mother and her son, and not wanting to let go of him. whatever may happen as they are caught by this spider character creature. And as she's kind of retelling her story in this group, it's always kind of pushed forward about, I'm not going to let go of your hand, I'll always be there for you, I'm not going to let you go. And then the twist on the tale is, although the Honor Guard, the big superhero team, come up and save the day, obviously someone died. And obviously Rose, the mother, lost a hand. And it does at first just feel like this is going to be another issue where we're just kind of, we're reliving these stories and the emotional weight that these events have on the citizens of Astro City. But then it kind of leads down another path that perhaps we weren't really expecting, and this is to do with the leader of the group. And kind of Rose turns on him in some respects and wants to know his story about this wife that he has apparently lost. And Rose has done a bit of homework on this group, and she says there's no such thing, you've never been married, your wife didn't die, this is all a lie, what are you doing, you're kind of getting off on all our suffering. And it does take a kind of real sad turn, because it feels like, this guy has brought all these people together. It's been a nice, safe environment for them to, get together, to not feel so isolated. And it's just taken this one person, this new person, to kind of make everyone turn on him. And this guy's storyline, it's kind of confusing in some ways, but I'm just kind of trying to make sense of it all, where there was this event and we have this villain, the Timekeeper, who again, the Honor Guard and all the heroes of Astro City eventually put down, but it changes elements of what happened in the past. And part of this of this changing of time and things happening was, things that happened on a Sunday actually then happened on a Monday. And so there's this kind of moment where he doesn't have this path crossed with his wife. So we get the introduction of the Hanged Man coming in, who says, we beat the Timekeeper. Unfortunately, all this still happened. We couldn't put it back exactly the way we wanted. You can remember, but if you want me to let you forget, I will. And there doesn't seem to be that element that he wants to forget. It's kind of last issue, there are kind of, I guess he's starting to forget. It's a kind of gradual process, because we have seen him trying to remember the face of his loved one, and we can get the whole story in here, and it's kind of again beautifully done by the artist and colorist on here, and colorist Peter Patazis, with art by the always great Brent E. Anderson. Again, it's not like the most vibrant of colours, and you don't really expect this from an Astro City. The colour palette is a lot more muted, but it makes it kind of more real. But what's great is that he does get to flex his colouring skills as you kind of get past flashbacks, but kind of done in a kind of sepia toned colouring palette on there. Astro City, it's just always been a great emotional style book to read, and I can't wait. Well, it's not that I can't wait for this series to end, but it's going to be great to be able to go back to the beginning of this particular run of Vertigo and just enjoy those stories again, because Kurt is such a fantastic storyteller, whether it's just kind of like the one in done kind of one-shot storyline, or if it's like a 6-issue arc, or if it's a more shorter storyline like this one is with the 3 episodes. But it's just been a fantastic run, and I'm interested next to see, with this series ending, we're going to get from then on original graphic novels, which are still going to come out from Vertigo apparently, but it's going to come out in a I guess a large enough trade, and we're going to get a whole story in one. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works with Kurt, who likes to, you know, sometimes do shorter stories, sometimes do longer stories. How is that going to work in the original graphic novel? And there has been kind of rumours and tentative news reports about an Astro City TV series. Not quite sure what I think about that, but done right, I don't see how it can go wrong. Thank you all, that's me done for this week. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to comment down in the boxes below. Tell me what you've been reading and how you've been finding them, and if you've been reading any of the books that I have, are you enjoying them as much as I am? What do you think of the artwork and the colouring in this week's book? Lots of fun stuff to chat about, and I'll respond as soon as I can. So until next time, thank you for watching. Bye bye.